Hey everyone, me Kevin here. Breaking news out of Tesla that Tesla is now requiring FSD demo drives as part of your delivery experience when you purchase a Tesla. Now, there are a lot of mixed feelings about this, from some people believing that this is sales pressure and will add to what should otherwise be a pretty seamless delivery experience. Other people say no, this is exactly what's needed to actually get to mainstream FSD adoption. There are a lot of ideas and opinions on both sides of the aisle, and so what we're going to do in this video is we're going to break those down. I do want to start by doing a bit of a delivery update here, and then we're going to, as a number of deliveries, and then we'll get into the actual FSD numbers. Shout out, by the way, to those course members who jumped on with that lucid trade with me this morning and kicked a butt. We're up about 40% within 20 minutes. If you want alerts like these, make sure to join the Stocks and Psychology of Money group. That was a nice day. Okay, let's get into this. So I broke this down on eHack, and what I wrote down is that a few things. Barclays has a Q1 delivery target of 420 to 420,000 vehicles. This is the lowest I've seen so far from the street, and Barclays suggests that we might see some more seasonal sensitivity for Tesla deliveries in Q1 and Q2. So prep for a harder Q1 and Q2 in the future, now that the growth rate isn't meteoric anymore for Tesla. This is actually going to be really important as a long-run Tesla investor. If that's you, then you should keep in mind that Q1, Q2 might be the harder quarters going forward. This is an interesting argument I haven't heard of before, but it makes sense since a lot of folks are going for those end of the year car buying sprees, especially since you go through Labor Day, Black Friday, Christmas, a lot of excuses to treat yourself to a new car. So, interesting note about seasonality. We've also got a subsidy roll-off in Germany, France, and of course the $7,500 roll-off for the Model 3 in the United States. But to offset that, we do have a point of sale credit now for the vehicles that do get the credit and for the people who do qualify, which means you're getting those credits up front, which is a good thing. It's nice not to have to wait a year to get the money you're entitled to. Of course, this morning we had reports about BYD cutting prices again on over 100 different models, and Xiaomi following suit, something that's driving more price competition in Tesla or for Tesla in China. Some folks are saying Elon Musk may have started the price competition, but China will end it. Well, to the extent that they can, given that they're really competing in Europe and China versus the United States, where we're likely to have a lot of protectionism limiting the impact of Chinese vehicles in the United States. Of course, Barclays also points out disruptions in Berlin and suggests that if we get a Q1 run rate of around 420,000, we're probably only, or call it even 425, we're only looking at about 1.7 million units for the year, which is not great because 1.7 million units per the year, that's if you annualize Q1. Q3, Q4 should obviously be a lot higher. But if you were to annualize a Q1, you'd be down 6% on annual deliveries. That would not be great. Barclays calls this quite negative. My guess is if we continue to receive no guidance from Tesla, we're probably, if you're a Tesla shareholder, you're probably going to really have to buckle up for Q1, Q2 earnings before you start getting some positive momentum. And that positive momentum should align with when rate cuts begin, if they indeed begin this year. So really getting to like July to September is probably the target for where you want to start reevaluating. Okay, is this really the time to buy the dip? Do you save some cash now, buy the dip then? Or is the dip now, and do you buy now? Is the market already pre-pricing all of that in? We'll see. Goldman Sachs reiterates that we're in between growth curves. This is something we've heard on the earnings calls. Goldman Sachs, after their visit to the Tesla and Rivian facilities, argues that Tesla should remain positive on a free cash flow basis. And ultimately, monetizing software is key. And how interesting. Monetizing software is exactly what it appears to be Tesla is trying to do with the following email. Now, you'll note that the email was sent at 2 a.m. Personally, I think there's like a 1.7% chance that Elon sent this email at exactly 2 a.m. Mostly, I just did 1 divided by 60 there, which is about 1.7%. Now, let's say he did this to sort of be ironic, then maybe call it a 30% chance Elon purposefully hit send at 2 a.m. Personally, I think it was a scheduled send. This is something you kind of write later in the evening, and then you schedule send it. Makes it kind of seem like you're working. It's part of the PR, part of the marketing. Fine. Not that this really matters, but a lot of people were commenting on that. So I thought I'd address that. Elon Musk says, going forward, it is mandatory in North America to install and activate FSD 12.3.1 and take customers on a short test ride before handing over the car. Almost no one actually realizes how well supervised FSD actually works. I know this will slow down the delivery process, but it is nonetheless a hard requirement. Okay, a few things here. First of all, I love 12.3. 12.3 is way better than what I've experienced with 12.1. Big fan. I will say there are some parts where I know the car is probably looking ahead. I'm guessing it's looking ahead. And so I expect everything is fine. But I'll give you an example of a 12.3 drive, not a 12.3.1 drive, just to give you a little bit of an example of two parts where you kind of notice, okay, this is kind of where the car has still a little bit of work to do. And honestly, that's very, very little. If this is the limit or the work that we still have left to do, we've got like not much left to do. So first of all, I'd just like to shout out that this is a version 12.3 right here. It is really good. It's not even 12.3.1 yet, and it's phenomenal. I did about a 13-minute video. No takeovers, no interventions. It's by far one of the best FSD versions that I've found. It does like to cut curbs a little tight, so sometimes I get a little nervous that I'm going to end up clipping the side of the curb, and I've seen some other folks on social media talking about doing exactly that, and so that's just something that'll get fine-tuned over time. Obviously, we don't want that to happen, but that's why this is a supervised FSD beta release, right? Now, what I want to show here are the two leftover challenging points, and I think the easiest thing to do is just sort of listen to me on these, and then you can kind of see it happening as it's happening live. Here we go. Gosh, chill out, would you? There we go. Okay, slowing down a little hardcore here. I do have traffic behind me. That's pretty natural. That was nice. Quickly got in that right lane so traffic can pass me. This is not a stop. This is a yield. Come on. Come on. Go. 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 Why are we going so slowly? Why? Stop. That is one thing that I talk about in this video, is that when it sneaks up to red lights or stop signs, it is very slow at getting to the stop line. But I also acknowledge in the video that it's probably better to be safer than sorry, obviously, especially before pedestrian lines, and it's good for robotaxi. Now, here's the part that gets a little weird, and I call it out as it happens, but the car probably saw. I want to take the next one. Okay, good. That's the unprotected left here. So let's see if we get traffic and how it does. And not only is an unprotected left, we don't even have a lane. So, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. I'm going to put my hand here because that car is going to turn. And then there's another car behind it. Please don't go. Please don't go. Please don't go. We can't see behind it, you dumbass. Oh my God. Maybe it saw. Maybe it saw. That scared the crap out of me. Again, I say DA, but I'm like, that was scary. Because if you look back, I could not see. And I've looked and played back on this. I don't see the visualization here coming for the vehicle behind that. We could kind of see this on the frame by frame right here if we zoom in. We don't see another vehicle coming in the frame by frame until I think here. There we go. I see a small dot here. So maybe we do see it. See that tiny little dot there? But my concern is, what if somebody was pulling out right here, right? In the blind spot of the vehicle. I suppose we could have turned and then stopped here. But let's just say this like uncertainty was scary. Again, a car could have pulled out from here even though we were tracking this one. And again, I suppose we could have stopped here, but boy. So there are a couple of scenarios where at least I'm still like, okay, I'm usually really comfortable with FSD. I've been using FSD and autopilot for over 7 years now, which is crazy. Actually, it's over 6 years. I'm on my 7th year, essentially, because I got the car in 2017, so I haven't quite lapped it yet. And I love this. I mean, it is the best ADAS system that exists out there. But yeah, you probably don't want to take new drivers on specific encounters like that. And you kind of got to supervise where the car's strengths are and where the car's weaknesses are. See, in my opinion, there are probably a lot of people who look at FSD and say, like, I hear it's good, but I'm too afraid to try it. And I think that's probably what Elon Musk sort of forcing this trial will help accomplish for Tesla, is getting people warmed up to the idea of, okay, all right, I can use this in a supervised manner, and when I feel uncomfortable, I can take over and drive just like normal. Now, I do think that's fair, entirely fair. But let's run through this a little bit and think through this logically and what this means for the stock ultimately. So I broke this all down over at ehack.com. So this is obviously going to increase time and labor costs. I do some quick calculations here on how much it's going to cost. My guess is it's going to cost about $7.5 million per quarter in additional labor costs, assuming an extra 20 to 30 minutes per delivery for each vehicle. That's assuming every single vehicle gets about 20 to 30 additional minutes of demonstration time versus the express deliveries we have now. A lot of the delivery today is done by you going into your app, pre-signing things, uploading documents. And frankly, when you get there to pick up your Tesla, usually you exchange a few words, you get in your car and go. It's actually an extremely seamless delivery experience. But now you have to wait for somebody comes to you, then you have to introduce yourself, they'll probably run some basics through with you. Then somebody has to decide, do you want to drive? Do they want to drive? Do you want to take turns driving? Realistically, it's probably between, you're not going to be able to assembly line this too easily. You're probably looking about 30 minutes per delivery demonstration. But again, this isn't necessarily that big of a deal because you're selling an extremely high margin product to where even if you just convert at full price, 0.15% of people, you pay for the extra labor costs. But I honestly think the conversion rate could be substantially higher than this. So for the long term, I'm actually pretty bullish in people getting that extra push to trying this out. So I'm not bearish on this. This is a long run good thing. Now, I do think eventually they will have to reduce the price of FSD. So there is a concern that I have that Elon is potentially pushing this to sell more FSD rather than reducing the price. I want to see the price go down and do the demos. The FSD price should be substantially lower, my opinion. Now, I do also wonder, is there a concern over low take rates where Elon Musk is potentially trying to blame the sales team? Or is he just simply suggesting, hey, the sales team hasn't been asked to prioritize this in the past, let's now prioritize it and see if we can upsell some subscriptions. Personally, I think the best time to do this sort of FSD demo testing would be in a test drive up front, so people can buy the car with FSD already because they gotta have it. Now you could finance it, you could build it into the cost of the vehicle, rather than, yay, I'm taking delivery. Oh, now I kind of wish I financed that, right? So, I mean, I guess you could always go for the $200 a month option, but again, even that option, $200 a month is a lot. It should be lower, quite significantly lower. And then I think the take rate would go up substantially. If it was $600 a year, pay in full for a year, get $100 off, $499 or whatever. Something around the price of one of the Meet Kevin wealth building courses or whatever over at meetkevin.com, or a ticket to the Millionaire Symposium, right? That's kind of where the price should be. $12,000. It's tough because it's, people aren't as familiar yet with this FSD. So you do have a little bit, and that's the whole point of this, right? Is to get people more familiar. I do think there should probably be an opt-out, but let's look at what some people are saying in the commentary. First of all, Elon Musk acknowledges there is some calibration time risk. Because usually when you get your first Tesla, you have to calibrate the cameras first for the car, and that could take some time. I'm not exactly sure how that pre-calibrating is going to be done at the delivery centers. That could be a little annoying. Omar creates a joke here, and Elon says does acknowledge that we do need to trim down that time frame for calibrating. But here is some commentary from some folks. Maybe delivery staff have more time to sell now since they're delivering less. Somebody else says this is very high margin, so this could be a great opportunity to make more money for Tesla. I agree with that. Upfront FSD demos might be better. Also agree with that. You could do both though. Some people say, well, you're not really getting sold. You're just being shown a feature of the car. It's not like it's supposed to be high pressure sales. But some people, if there's no opt-out, will feel pressured. Like, hey, this is a waste of my time. I either want it and I have it, or I don't want it and I don't want it, right? It also comes at the same time as Tesla is moving into Facebook ads en masse, which does cater to an older demographic. So maybe you're educating a new demographic on FSD, though there's still going to be a lot of people, even after a demo, who just don't trust it. But again, you really only need to break a 15 basis point conversion rate above the number of people who would have gotten FSD anyway to break even on this. So personally, I think I'm actually long-term bullish on this. I think long-term, the little kinks like being slow going up to a red, or the sort of scary unprotected left, these sort of encounters, I think you'll get less of those. I'm also a little jaded on my 12.3 experience with that left turn because I did have a very scary 12.1 experience where the car almost tried to drive in front of a very fast traveling car, and I had to slam on the brakes to overtake. The car was not going to stop. It was literally accelerating into their lane, and it was a 2-lane road, so I was halfway in one of the first lanes, and they were able to pass in sort of their right lane. Anyway, that's 12-1, so I don't expect that to happen anymore. And I think like the curbing and again the slowness at stops and these edge case scenarios of these left turns will normalize. And these are areas where you're paying attention to the car more anyway. But I will say in that video clip I showed, had I had a passenger on the right side of the vehicle, I would have hit the brakes on that one. I would not have felt comfortable making that left turn without being able to confirm that there wasn't another vehicle pulling out of a lot and then driving straight. But again, maybe the car is able to see things from different angles that I can't see. It didn't make me feel comfortable though, and I feel like I'm generally a pretty good tester of this stuff. So as far as what I think this actually does for the stock in the short term, Q1, Q2, probably very little. We usually get sort of like by the dipping when we get news announcements like this, but those are usually offset by negative news like price cuts across the board, or price cuts in China, or deliveries missing estimates, or earnings. So for me, if I was looking for buy the dip opportunity, this is not the news that I think really catapults the stock to new highs. However, in the long term, like 25, 26, as this becomes more mass adopted, I'm much more enthusiastic. The question, though, is will other manufacturers using NVIDIA's data set be able to get to version FSD 12.1 much quicker than it took Tesla to get to 12.1? Remember, Tesla went end-to-end neural net with version 12. So version 12 is really like version 1. Well, if another company uses the same amount of data that maybe they've been collecting, maybe not. We don't know. The argument is that NVIDIA has already been collecting this sort of data. If, let's say, they have been, then they could probably get to a version 1 pretty quickly, which would be the equivalent of a version 12 at Tesla. Now, Tesla's still ahead. They're at 12.3 now. They're at 12.3.1 now, and they're going to be at 12.4 soon. So Tesla's got to keep this lead going. And I think maybe that's another thing that Tesla's going for here, is if we could get more people using FSD, we could sort of lock in that lead that Tesla does undeniably have right now. So definitely believe in this. So more feedback for the AI team, good thing. Could also help boost margin. I really don't think it's really going to show up in margin until probably a year or two from now. Again, I don't think the costs of actually doing this are that meaningful relative to the margin that Tesla could yield from this. So I'm actually a fan of doing this, and I think it's a long-run benefit to Tesla. Short term, I remain unconvinced.
Advertise these things that you told us here. I feel like nobody else knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take.
Even though I'm a licensed financial advisor, licensed real estate broker, and becoming a stockbroker, this video is not personalized advice for you. It is not tax, legal, or otherwise personalized advice tailored to you. This video provides generalized perspective, information, and commentary. Any third-party content I show shall not be deemed endorsed by me. This video is not and shall never be deemed reasonably sufficient information for the purposes of evaluating a security or investment decision. Any links or promoted products are either paid affiliations or products or services we may benefit from. I also personally operate an actively managed ETF. I may personally hold or otherwise hold long or short positions in various securities, potentially including those mentioned in this video. However, I have no relationship to any issuer other than HouseHack, nor am I presently acting as a market maker. Make sure if you're considering investing in HouseHack to always read the PPM at househack.com.